Hi, welcome to Modern Barber Upskills. I'm Charlotte, the editor of Modern Barber, and today I'm going to be talking to Ash Edwards about the barbershop employment model and pay structure. Welcome, Ash.
Hi, Charlotte. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank you.
Good. So, for people that don't know Ash, he founded AJ MenSpa in 2018, and you guys have a vision of offering not just haircuts, it's all about the experience, right? So from body and facial treatments to colour and beard care, it really sounds like you get a top-to-toe experience at AJ MenSpa.
You do get a top-to-toe experience. It's been the best thing. I mean, people want to be pampered a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though we've only been open a few times in between the pandemic, what we've been finding is that, people have been wanting to come in and they've been wanting to have the whole experience, like in between the gaps. So it's definitely needed and wanted.
Oh, give me anything now for like a top to toe experience. Even still my beard. I can do my beard if you like. But today we're going to be chatting less about the kind of spa experience side of things and about employing staff, owning a business, and what you think the future model of employment really looks like in barbershops. So firstly, tell us a little bit about your business and what your employment model is like, how many members of staff you have. Tell us all about AJ MenSpa.
Okay, so AJ MenSpa itself, we've got, I think, 8 full-time members of staff that work directly within the business. Then we have a couple of self-employed that come in to the business, mainly to do aesthetics, that come in on a scheduled kind of basis, but most are employed. Like certain bits, it works better if they're not employed directly, and it's more like another business that's coming in.
Sure.
And other times it doesn't work.
Is that because of the client demand isn't there as regularly for the...
It's not that the client demand is not there as regularly. It's because you kind of like, doctors are quite expensive. So if we've got, where we offer one service which is like sweat reduction, so it's like botulinum injections underneath your armpits to stop you from like sweating. I don't know if you're like aware of the practice. So we'd run a clinic for that, rather than be like it's available at all times every single day.
Yeah,
it just doesn't financially add up to have someone or have every single staff member trained to be able to do that to that kind of like level. So it doesn't work like that. So to get a doctor in, self-employment kind of works. You're bringing in someone outside. As of like the day-to-day normal, if you want a massage, if you want a haircut, if you want a facial, those staff, we have them employed.
Amazing. And why do you so strongly believe in the employment model?
I think the pandemic's proved, I think, that certain structures work and certain like models work. It's right for me in my business for what I do because of the amount of services that we offer. So because we color hair and we perm hair and we do other kind of treatments, and all of my staff do a variety of treatments, it's easier to employ them rather than be like, actually, you need to purchase this color first and then do this and then do that. It gives, the formality, and it means that my staff actually work more cohesively together. So they know that they're getting paid to complete an entire job. If someone is running behind, they'll be getting their next client ready for them. Whereas, if someone was self-employed or they're just renting a chair, their only focus is on their own staff, rather than anybody else's stuff. And that's what I've kind of like found. So I have had some self-employed and some chair renters that have worked within my business before, but I find they don't team play as well. And then because of the way that we're a salon essentially. So for me, if you're not busy, I'd like to see you on reception. If you've got someone who's just rent a chair, they're like, oh, I'm just going to go to the shop. Like, I'm just going to sit outside the back because they just don't want to be seen not working, so to speak, or they might want to eat a burger in a chair and you just can't have that. So that's why I've always believed that model, and education as well. My staff, they've all been educated in-house. So for me, when they're being educated like that, it means that we're taking on apprentices, and apprentices, you're taking them employed. You can't have a self-employed apprentice or a chair renting apprentice. So you've got to take them on from scratch, and then you're employing them from scratch, which means I kept that model. I found that it's better to have that, and I managed to keep that rather than ones that were self-employed or were renting chairs. Cool. For me.
What do you think the future of barbershops is in terms of chair rental versus full employment?
I think it's all right. Education is key to me, and education is what's going to produce our industry. Our industry is changing, you know, whether we like it or not. COVID has changed our industry. You know, from now that most shops now do appointments, there's very few that can do walk-ins, and if they are walk-ins, it's the next available appointment. You know, before, like pre-pandemic, it was everyone would just queue and sit and wait inside barbershops, really loud, bustling environments. And now it's kind of like slowed down. You know, there's cleaning a lot more in between, and people understand the health, the safety, the hygiene. Now, with all that said, that means that you're dealing with like less clients, and you've got to make sure that you're keeping everything in order. So for me, if I had a check, for example, and you know, I was a check from the council and it was about COVID, I can't be like, oh, this person, they just rent a chair and they're at fault. Mm-hmm. Me as the business owner, I'm still going to be at fault, and I've got to make sure that I've got control over that. Mm-hmm. So that'd be one kind of like aspect of it. Two, when it comes down to education, if you want like to keep your staff, you know, you if someone is renting a chair, you'll be trying to encourage them maybe to do a refresher course or take on some extra skills. If you've got them employed, they're on offer, and people are more willing to take them because it comes as part of the, you know, the employment package. You know, I need you to be skilled in this, or I need you to, you know, to undertake this training, or would you like to do this training? It's better, therefore you're getting better, more highly skilled employers.
Do you find that there's an argument as well for, you know, it's you can only advise, if you were self-employing someone, you can only advise them to be taking courses. There's no level.
Yeah, like
they can wear what courses they can provide, and for your business
it's very much a gray area. It's like they're employed enough to have to follow the rules of the shop, so to speak, or they're renting a space, so you know, within the rental agreement you could have that they need to attend between the hours of this and, you know, 7 and 9 or whatever it may be on a Monday and Tuesday, but you still don't have, you need to serve this many customers, or someone walks through the door, they will need to be served even if they come through the door, you know, an hour beforehand. You know, you're still an hour on the clock. You can't just be like, oh, I'm done for the day and go. You know, it takes all those kind of like elements about it. And I mean, it does work for some. I think for smaller shops that are not vet registered and don't want to be, and you've got owners that work inside the shops, I think, you know, that kind of like self-employed rent-a-chair kind of like system, it works. I'm not going to say that, but for like the bigger salons or those that are expanding or those that want to offer more, like myself, that system doesn't work. Or for those that want to, you know, bring up the new generation and train and educate, again, that framework, it doesn't work. There's no incentives. Like right now, if you want to employ, you know, someone that's just freshly leaving school at 16 to become a barber, or to become, you know, to take on an apprenticeship, you have to employ them anyway. So to a certain extent, you know, you have to take that risk. I mean, there's good incentives at the moment that the government are offering for you to be able to do that. And I think the more people are taking advantage of that, they're going to realize that it's actually better to employ staff in that manner for those reasons. You know, I've been lucky that I've been able to furlough my staff, so they haven't been at risk of being like, you know, of not having any money. You know, a lot of the self-employed guys, especially with the first lockdown going into the second lockdown, really? If they were just new into the industry and just newly self-employed, they had nothing but benefits that they could apply for. You know, whereas everyone else who was employed, they were just like, oh, okay, cool, I'm on furlough. So there is loads of pluses and minuses and loads of freedoms. I think the main reason why most people before were self-employed or renting chair is because, you know, it's a lot more work for the shop owners. So that's what I'm trying to say. Some it will work for, some won't. You know, some people will probably like totally disagree with me and go, actually, you know what, that model doesn't really work. But I think the way that it's coming through, and the industry is modernizing, it's changing, it's been taken more seriously. It's gonna kind of get to that kind of framework, and I think that's the way that it's going to be going ahead and going forward. There's going to be more shops just like mine that are going to be popping up that are offering more services. They're going to be more diverse. I've seen it. I've been in the industry like quite a long time, and even since I've had mine, I've seen everyone else trying to all of a sudden start out offering waxing services, whether it's beard or eyebrows or anything else like that, or like facials and wet shaves and stuff. I've seen it because I know that it's going back to a true service industry. Before, it was just like, it's bread and butter. I'm just coming in, I'm getting my maintenance done, I'm going, whether it's once a fortnight, once a week, or whatever it may be. Now it's changing back. It's changing back, These girls have been quite lucky, I think, from the hairdressing kind of like industry. I think like it's always been that way. You've got salons that have always offered more, and you've gone in there and it's the whole experience. You have a nice coffee, a glass of prosecco or whatever. Like, it's always kind of been that way. And it's not the guys and the guy industry that's just catching up now. And, I'm one of the main people that are trying to push that. But if you look at like the hairdressers versus barbers, hairdressers are employed and barbers are not, generally. Like, if I go into a hairdresser, they're going to be employed, and they're going to be, they will have their basics kind of like wage, and then they have their commission and their commission targets to kind of hit. That works for that industry. And if I'm looking about what I'm doing now myself within my salon, that's the reason why it works. So it's like tried and tested in a sense, but the guys are just waking up.
I love all the conversations that kind of come out of this employment versus self-employment debate. It's been really, really interesting to kind of get stuck into it. And in the magazine, we've heard from, say, Chris at Grizzlies, passionate about employing staff just like you. And in the last issue, we had someone who's on the other end of the spectrum and is offering, it's actually a very cool concept, actually. I just want to kind of run it by you and you think of it. It's called Cut Park, and it's basically like the box park of barbering. So he rents individual. If you
make it really, really individual. Exactly. I think that's a really good concept. I mean, if essentially when he's taken what is, when you do go into a shop, and it is more like a rent-a-chair shop. So it's not like a barber run rent-a-chair shop. There's difference in the way that like kind of things are. But if you've got an owner that doesn't work in the shop, that doesn't manage the shop, and just comes in there and it's literally, he's just talking about the rent, so the image and everything else of it. If you've then got barbers that are got their own space and they can make it personal themselves, that's their own little individual business themselves. So they might not want staff themselves, they might not want to take on a whole premise. I quite like the concept. I think it works. And not everything suits everyone. I think everyone's got a master craft. I don't think that every single one of my staff are gonna stay with me for an eternity and to the end of time. But I hope they're getting enough skills, enough coaching, enough industry knowledge and know-how that if they did want to go and stroll the road by themselves, they would be able to do so. And whether it's take on a full salon like I have, or just an individual little unit themselves, or just renting a chair, I think that's quite cool.
Cool. And kind of speaking about your team, you've touched on there, how do you strive to create this sense of camaraderie and everyone working towards the same goal? What kind of things do you do to put?
I think, do you know what, the one thing that I've always said to any new member of staff is, you will see me clean the toilet. And that's because when I want, when a client comes through the door, I want them to go into a clean toilet. And I'm the manager, I'm the director, so I expect you to be able to do the same. And I've got one of the rules that I have inside my shop is that if you pick the broom up, you sweep the whole floor. Like, I don't want you to just sweep your area. You sweep the whole floor. You pick up the broom, your area needs sweeping, you sweep the whole area. It takes seconds, but it means so much, and the upkeep of the shop is much better for that. Getting people to then do that, just something as simple as that everyone normally sweeps everyone else's mess up and cleans up everyone else's mess up. That means they automatically start working as a team. They don't think of it. I've done staff nights out, we've done the little games, gone for meals and stuff like that. We've done all the regular stuff, but you know what? It's the normal just working together, doing simple things like ordering lunch in, you know, together, trying to get like a break. Sometimes I try and get like a break throughout the day when we all had a break. Like sometimes it's impractical, but on a slower day, I'll be like, actually, our lunch hour is, you know, 2 to 3.
Yeah.
You know, and most of us will kind of have that. I think that kind of stuff, that works. That really does work. It's the simple stuff. It's not the flamboyant, extravagant, this is what I'm kind of going to do. Yeah. Like it's the normal, the nice, the simple, nice things. And if they have no choice but to do them, like they've got no choice but to clean up and tidy up and help each other out and greet each other's customers and stuff like that. They've like, that helps. So, you know, if I've got one of my barbers and his client's not quite turned up, and then I've got another one and his client is, but he might be behind, I'd be like, okay, can you help, you know, your fellow team player out and, you know, wash this in particular client's hair? I mean, it works.
Yeah,
it works because it's like, you know, it's automatically, they're just doing it, they're just helping each other, and it builds that team.
I love that you say it's not about the big things. It's not taking your whole staff on a holiday to mag a leaf. It is taking responsibility for the whole barbershop, everyone doing it, everyone pitching in. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's what works. And then when they're doing that, it's very easy to reward them. You don't want to dangle a carrot and be like, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. That's the norm. Mm-hmm. Like that's the baseline. That's what's expected of you. Like when you that's what's expected. That's what I mean. I've had other staff that have come in that have worked in other shops in other locations, and because of that, they've come with, you know, they've come with different approach to the way that they, you know, they handle, and, you know, they're not like, they don't think that everyone needs to answer the phone, or, you know, like if someone's like off the till or someone's on a lunch break or they're doing something else, or someone might be upstairs, that they've got to greet the other person's customer or anything. They don't normally have to do those sort of things. They just sit in their chair, and when the client comes, they come, or they're busy and they're only focused on them. And that's why I'm trying to say, like, for me, employing staff, it gives you that flexibility. It also gives them breathing spaces, because you can stop them overworking themselves and overrunning themselves as well. Mm-hmm. Like, as an employer, I can be like, you need to have an hour break.
Yeah. Like,
so I know that they're, you know, they're healthy, and they're saying, if it's someone who's self-employed, I can't realistically tell them they have to have a break. Like, that's their decision, like when they work to, whether they take a break or don't. Whereas as an employer, I can be like, no, you're having a break. Or I can, you know, I can stop that, or I can make sure they're taking some time off, you know, and they've got the relaxed mind. And a lot of time in our industry, especially like the self-employed barbers and stuff like that, what you find, and me having been in that situation, is like trying to book a holiday. You're like, I need to go middle of the month because I need to be ready for my clients. I need to, you know, my guys, and it's quite refreshing, to be honest with you. They're just like, oh, I've got so much holiday I want to be able to use up, and it doesn't matter because, like, I'm paid. They know they'll make it up, and they've got their commissions and what to be able to make up. But it's not that pressure of like, it's totally absorbing their life. Mm-hmm. They can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's healthier.
You know where you stand.
You're healthier. You know, like, it's like, cool. If I wanted to take, it's different for myself, obviously, but if a member of my staff, I'm already getting holiday applications in, you know, they know they've got holiday to use up. They haven't used it up. I'm quite happy, you know, I'm praying that the borders do open and they can fly out, because I think they need that. I think, but if you're self-employed and you're worrying about, I've got to pay my chair rent, or I need a certain amount of money coming in, you've got to work extra hard, save, put some money aside, and that's good practice as well. But when you're employed, you know that you've got your paycheck, essentially. It helps. And the other thing I do is I make sure that you know, the paycheck can always rise. You know, I think I've always made sure that they're well paid. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes there's a bit of a cop out, you know, some of the shops that do chair rental, it's like you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, but has that, if it's a new barber in the industry and you're renting a chair to them and they're just about barely making up those numbers, is it almost like a legal amount of money for them to be earning? Like, are they, you know, if the shop rent, I don't know, is like £400 a week and they're earning £5, is £20 a day that they're working for, is that worth it for them? You know, are they putting in that, or could you be realistic and then not have them paying the same amount, but you still got to be fair in a shop. If the shop rent is that, the shop rent is that. So it's got to be fair. Whereas I think if you're employing some, you've got a bit more control over that. You've got a bit more flexibility over what they're earning and what kind of money is coming in through the door. Yes, I understand it's people get hit with that, but what you get for it is so much more. You know, like I would struggle now to take someone on like a full-time self-employment. This is your chair, this is your space. I think I'd really struggle. I don't think it'd work within my business anymore. I mean, in the early days we tried it, it wasn't very successful. You know, when you had, and I had the mixture of employed, self-employed, and I think when people are taking on apprentices and stuff like that, that's how I figured it out. That's how I noticed it. And I think when other people are now doing that, and everyone else right now, they are looking at, you know, helping out the economy and helping out the young people that have had no opportunities right now. When it comes down to their qualifications or anything else like that, they've been shut down. You know, I think the way, I don't want to get this correct, just in case someone quotes me like wrong, but they didn't have to sit exams. They just got done for what they're done throughout the year, and that's what their exams are and stuff like that. So it's a little bit unfair on them if they weren't the best kind of students, but they ace exams, and you know, you've got some that do really good on the paperwork, but wouldn't do so well on the exams. So it's kind of, I think if it's down to a teacher, there might be a little bit more favoritism. So you've got that to kind of play with as well. But I think when it comes down to like teaching and it comes down to employing, and you know, you just get a more coherent workforce. You know, it's easier to expand, it's easier to look to be able to do other things. It's less stressful for me because I know that my staff are doing what they need to be able to do. You know, I can set them tasks, I can make sure they do it, they do it. That's what they're paid to do.
So we kind of touched on hiring staff and how much you value apprentices, and that kind of route into barbering. What other ways do you go about hiring staff, and what are the things that you look for in employees?
So for me, when I'm hiring a member of staff, I don't mind someone who comes along with a load of skill, but I do prefer someone who has none.
Bold.
That's very bold. You know, and the main reason for that is if you've got all the right attributes, if you've got all the right characteristics, you are the right character, you are the right fit for the business. I'm confident with my staff and my team and with the education, we can make you into the best, you know, barber or hairdresser. Yeah. We can do that. What we can't do is teach you how to be a really good human being and teach you how to, you know, work really well with others and, you know, look after your fellow staff members and team members and so on, and the environment in which you're working in. That's so much harder to do.
Mm-hmm. And kind of what, I know we've touched a little bit about wages and pay rises. Do you have conversations? Do you have a pay structure at AJ MenSpa? How does that work?
We do have a pay structure at AJ MenSpa. I do reviews off hug, but roughly we look at them every 6 months or so. Mm-hmm. I think I've only had one member of staff that didn't get a pay rise during a review, I think. And that's because they had a long time off, so we couldn't justify giving them a pay rise for the amount of time in which they had off, and that was the only reason. But they come back, and then, you know, the next time round they got their pay rise. Mm-hmm. It's quite easy to work out. I mean, the money pretty much the same. If you're trying to aim, and, you know, for example, you want a chair rent and you're happy with a certain amount of chair rent, like, so you're saying, you know, you're already looking at that person and going, I want to earn, I don't know, 1,200, 1,400, 1,600, whatever you may say the chair rent is for the month. And you're looking at that in particular barber or hairdresser, and you're going, well, that's what I want. You can still do that. You can still have that how much money that you need to gross from that individual inside your mind. And you can still have the freedom to have more or have less or go up or go down in between it. But then you know that you're investing in them as well. They know that, you know, you've got certain, I think it's like I was able to create a handbook. As you know, I was able to create a handbook, you know, and how, like what you would normally get in any kind of like corporation, and it says you can do this, you can't do that, you know, like simple rules, really, really simple rules. But as someone who's self-employed, they don't have to, they don't feel like they have to follow those rules to that level. They're just like,
I don't think they do legally.
Well, there is a standpoint. There is certain standpoints. So, for example, there is a uniform you can have within your contracts, so to speak, very loosely, that the dress code here is all black. Mm-hmm. There's a certain level of hygiene that you need to keep up to, and so on and so forth. You can legally have that as a self-employed person. Like, they have to have a standard, like, because that comes with their rental agreement. It doesn't come with an employment agreement. It comes with a rental agreement. So you pay for your square footage. I don't know, like a suit, like if you've got concessionary inside a mall or a supermarket, you have to open between the hours of that they're working in. You can't just, they only open, Tesco is only open 10 till 4 on a Sunday. You can't be like, well, on a Sunday, I'm going to open from 8 till 9. Like, you just can't do it. You have to follow the same kind of rules of what they're doing. So there are legal parameters around it that you can do. But when they're employed, it's just that much easier and simple. Like, if I know that I could give you warnings if you came in and you hadn't had a shower for 2 days and your shoes were muddy, I can be like, okay, you've got a warning. Like, that's not how I want my business to be. But some people, they don't mind. They're just like, okay, I'm just getting my rental money. And I think there's been a bit of a jump. There's been a bit of a jump with the shops in the industry that have been like that. So you've had a lot of people that thought there's a lot of money in this industry. You know, if I got this one in particular space, I can divide it up into these sections and I can charge X amount for it. There's a lot of that in our industry. And those shops, they are the ones that have struggled during the pandemic. They're the ones that staff have struggled and everything else like that, because it's not been a concept that's worked or fared very well in this pandemic.
And it's possibly not what clients are looking for when they've come out of lockdown and they want that experience.
No, I mean, I'm not fooled when I know that a lot of my clients, whether they're my original clients or whether I pass them on, they come to see my staff. They come to see the environment. They come to see what it looks like. Now, me as the puppeteer behind it, I can be like, I can make sure that when you do come into, my premise, that it's clean, it's safe, it's friendly, everybody's happy here. That keeps everybody's clients wanting to come back, not just their own, like it's everyone. So it's that whole team. If I'm the only friendly barber in the shop and then the best barber in the shop, like, there's too much rivalry. I want you to help your fellow. There's no point me going and being able to do that. So, like, if you've got someone who's self-employed, they're just like, no, it's me. But when you've got people that are employed, it's like, oh, I've already hit my targets. Why don't you take on this new client? Like, so they kind of have that a bit more about them, which is better for the whole entire shop.
Sure. Wendy has commented on our chat, and she simply said teamwork kiss, which kind of sums up exactly what we're talking about. And we've also got a question from Emma, who asks, where is the best place to get advice on apprenticeships? And I think she's kind of coming at the angle of she's starting to employ staff for the first time. So I think she possibly is a business, she can correct me on the chat if this is incorrect. I think she's a business owner who's looking to employ an apprentice. Where do you look?
Okay, the first thing I would say when it comes down to apprentices, and this is just me, I know, like, I'm a bit of an industry kind of guy and I have my own opinions. I would say look in your local area for people that can deliver the education of apprenticeships. Approach them, let them know that you're thinking of taking on an apprentice, so that they can inform you of what is expected of you, because there's going to be a lot of things that you may not think that you may need or may not need in taking on, and they'll be able to give you the best kind of advice. So you need to make sure that you've got employer liability, public liability. Obviously, you have a duty of care because of how young that person is, and so on and so forth. So they need to teach you and tell you the kind of other stuff. There's a lot more commitment, and not that I'm going to scare you off it. It's things that you do naturally anyway, but it's stuff that you would need to know and how to do it by the book. And approaching someone who's a bit more local. I don't know what area that she's from or anything else like that, but I'm sure there'll be a number of providers. I would avoid the colleges. like the actual colleges, as if like if it's a county college,
Okay.
I'd avoid that.
Why?
Main reason being is because they teach them the skills that they need, but they don't teach them the practicality of what they would need inside a salon. So if you want an apprentice, it's better to go to someone who delivers apprenticeships. And the education is going to come from within as well. And I also say that if you are going to take on an apprentice, make sure that you've got time for that apprentice. Don't think that you can take on an apprentice and just think they're going to come, wash hair and sweep, because that's not what they're there to do. And they're not going to be beneficial to you unless you've got time that you can dedicate to them. You know, whether it's a couple of hours a week, you know, you will need to be able to give them that time to teach them to know what they're doing and have a good and open relationship with the people that provide an education as well. So you want to know what they've been taught week in, week out. You know, like, are they doing hair up this week? Are they, you know, doing hair down? You know, are they learning shaving? Are they, you know, are they doing a uniform layer? What are they doing? You want to know what they're doing so that when it comes down to them being in the salon, you're teaching them the same things. And you know that actually you're at this, by the way, this is that cut that you learned in college, because it will be a different experience when you're doing it live, you know, and it's on like actual humans and not dolls' heads, or not on, you know, your friend that's come in to be a guinea pig. Like, it's different. So I think it's having that relationship and building up that relationship, you know, and knowing that you're going to go to a provider that will have a good relationship with employers and people that employ. You know, I myself, who, you know, we do deliver apprenticeships for other people, I wouldn't take on an employer that I didn't feel safe with, or I didn't feel that the apprentice is going to be safe there, or it's going to be a good environment for them. I just wouldn't take them on.
And I know you've had a pandemic that has seen a lot of growth and exciting projects coming in.
Yes.
and that might be a nice kind of way to end the session on. And I know you used a phrase when we were chatting before, and I'm going to try and quote you accurately, but I think you were stepping away on your business.
No, I said I'm working, rather than working, I'll quote it for you. I've been working on my business and not in my business. I've been working on it and not in it.
And just explain that to the viewers.
Okay, so what I mean by that is, as somebody who works in my business and runs the shop floor, you get sidetracked by just running the shop floor and not all of the things that run your business. You know, and there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you need to be able to do, whether it's media, marketing, finance, making sure that the bookkeeping's done, ordering products, whatever it may be. There's a lot of stuff that you do behind the scenes that you don't do on the shop floor. And ways of expanding your business and looking at your business as a whole. Now, during the pandemic, I've been able to do more of that. I've been able to look like in on my business and go, okay, cool, this is what I want to work on, because I haven't been, you know, sidetracked with my full column every day, which has been allowing me to expand. You know, I feel there's two ways that people can approach this, and I've seen it. So there are those that are spending and revamping and, you know, taking on staff and, you know, thinking about all the different things that they can do to, you know, to stand out and be the best, and, you know, really embrace what they're doing because they love their industry. And there are those that are closing their purses and tightening up. We know that closing the purses in any business, and going into the, you know, to the point that you're not spending and you're not reinvesting and, you know, you're not looking after, you know, your business, is not good for anyone. So, you know, I think that's probably my best advice for some other people, is that, you know, when you want to work on your business, make sure you've got time to.
Amazing. And thank you so much, Ash, for your time today. I really appreciate that, and you've definitely given us some gems of advice, and thank you for all your opinions on the employment model. It's definitely given a lot of people food for thought, I think.
Yeah, well, I hope everyone realized that, you know, it's not this is right, this is wrong. It's, you know, everyone's going to have what works for them.
Absolutely.
But, you know, be open to try other things. You know, don't mock it until you've tried it, so to speak. You know, it might really, really work for you. It might open up your eyes and see it. But I think as an industry as a whole, I think employing people and then getting education, and that's the way that you're going to build real good foundations for the business and for the industry as a whole. You know, if you're just looking for someone who's got 2 years experience and a whole, you know, clientele list to come into your shop, it's not going to work long term.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, Ash, and have a lovely rest of your day.
And you. It's
Great
always
to
good
see
to
you.
catch up.
Yeah, hopefully next time it will be in person. Can't wait.
Fingers crossed.
Good luck
Fingers
for
crossed.
the opening as well.
Yeah.
Bye.
And you.
Lovely to
Bye.
see you.